China, a country of 1.4 billion people, with GDP of around 18 trillion US dollars and shares borders with 14 countries. We will assess whether in 2024, is China a threat to the US and its allies? In this video, we will explore the developments around China's military and try to understand the answers to three questions. 1. What is the extent of China's military buildup? 2. Who is the buildup for? Is it aimed at domestic audiences or international opponents? 3. How does it threaten the America and its allies, given the land and sea disputes between China and its neighbors? Let's take a look at the extent of China's military buildup by looking at the current budget and increase over the years. China is expected to increase its defense spending by 7.2% in 2024, significantly exceeding its roughly 5% economic growth target. Chinese estimates state that the defense budget rise will result in a budget for 2024 of around 1.67 trillion yuan, or 232 billion US dollars. The Chinese national budget is centered on defense spending, which accounts for almost 40% of the 4 trillion yuan projected total expenditure by the central government. Military spending has registered the highest percentage increase in the last 30 years of all the countries. The sum allotted to the military exceeds the budgets for science and technology by nearly 5 times and education by roughly 10 times. Now let's take a look at the structure of China's armed forces. Chinese forces are known as People's Liberation Army, or PLA. Its structure was recently revised and now consists of 4 services and 4 arms. 4 services include the Army, Navy, Air Force, and the Rocket Force. Army, the PLA ground force, is the largest of the PLA's 5 services with 975,000 active duty personnel, approximately half of the PLA's total manpower of around 2 million personnel. The PLA Ground Force Reserve component comprises approximately 510,000 personnel. Navy. The 300,000-strong PLA Navy, also known as Plan, is organized into 3 major fleets. The North Sea Fleet headquartered at Qingdao, the East Sea Fleet headquartered at Ningbo, and the South Sea Fleet headquartered in Zhanjiang. Each fleet consists of a number of surface ships, submarines, naval air force, coastal defense, and marine units. Air Force. The 395,000-strong People's Liberation Army Air Force, also known as PLA-AF, was organized into 5 theater command air forces and 24 air divisions. Rocket Force, also known as PLA-RF, is the main strategic missile force of the PLA and consists of at least 120,000 personnel. It controls China's nuclear and conventional strategic missiles. China's total nuclear arsenal size is estimated to be between 100 and 400 thermonuclear warheads. In addition to 4 services, China's armed forces are organized as 4 arms. First is Joint Logistics Support Force that is responsible for strengthening logistic support for operational commanders. Second includes Information Support Force, responsible for coordinating the construction and application of network information systems. Third relates to the Aerospace Force with responsibilities including strengthening the capacity, safely use the space, and promote its peaceful utilization. Lastly, the Cyberspace Force that deals with cyber attacks, espionage, and defense. The PLA operates with 5 theater commands, organized by geographical location. First is Central Command, responsible for Beijing, security for CCP leadership, and support to other theaters. Second includes Eastern Command, responsible for Taiwan, East China Sea and the Senkaku, Diaoyu Islands, and Japan. Third is Northern Command, responsible for Korean Peninsula, borders with Russia and Mongolia and Yellow Sea. Fourth is Southern Command, responsible for South China Sea and borders with Southeast Asian countries. Lastly, Western Command responsible for border with India and counterterrorism. Let's further explore the question about the purpose of the military buildup. Does domestic political considerations play a part too? It's important to note that China is not a democracy and is ruled by an autocrat with an image to protect and the constant need to show an absolute grip on power to the local population by demonstrating the subservience of military power to the great leader. Strong military also ensures that there is no potential of internal disturbance against the current ruling dispensation. The demonstration of military strength also aids in suppressing any potential for dissent among the population, along with ensuring that the powerful generals are also kept busy with the acquisition and management of the most modern military equipment, and hence remain absolutely loyal to the ruling class in Beijing. The display of military power and its acknowledgement all around the world also creates the atmosphere of patriotism within the country among the population, and that acts as a binding force between the Chinese people. Additionally, Past wars and elimination of once strong empires around the world also play a part in continuous Chinese investment in its military. China has seen the past empires fall due to the lack of military strength, and in the current world, where it borders India and other countries with which it has long-running land and sea disputes, it just makes sense for the Chinese government to invest heavily to maintain enormous military strength. In addition to the military roles, the Chinese army plays a pivotal role in the domestic emergency relief efforts in the case of natural disasters. Accomplishment of such tasks effectively and efficiently requires modernized military hardware, along with the latest technology embedded in them. Now, let's look into how the military buildup threatens America and its allies. Let's first take a look at the disputes China has with the neighboring countries, including allies of America. China is involved in maritime disputes with multiple countries in the neighborhood, including Taiwan, Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, Brunei, and Singapore. The Spratly Islands and the Paracel Islands, or Sisha Islands, are the two primary contentions in the sea. The first is a dispute between China, Taiwan, Malaysia, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Brunei, while the second is between China, Taiwan, and Vietnam. China has also been involved with several land disputes with its neighboring countries, and recent times have witnessed an escalation of hostilities. Countries with land disputes include India, Nepal, Bhutan, Laos, Mongolia, Myanmar, Tibet, and Taiwan. Disputes with potential for the greatest instability in the region include the dispute with Taiwan, India, and Tibet. India and China clashed violently at the Galwan Valley in eastern Ladakh, which is part of the disputed Aksai Chin region. The clash left 20 Indian soldiers dead and several injured. The PLA also reportedly suffered casualties. China has also staked claim on parts of Arunachal Pradesh. Taiwan. Beijing sees the island as a breakaway province that will eventually be part of the country, and has not ruled out the use of force to achieve this. But many Taiwanese consider themselves to be part of a separate nation, although most are in favor of maintaining the status quo, where Taiwan neither declares independence from China nor unites with it. Tibet. Perhaps China's most decisive land dispute is the one with Tibet. In 1950, China enforced a long-held claim on the Himalayan country and incorporated it with its own territory. Tibet's spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, and his followers were forced to flee to India, where they have set up a government in exile. Now this brings us to how these fractured relationships impact China's relationships with America. FBI on its website in the article, The China Threat, lays out three broad categories of Chinese actions that have caused deep concerns among the American security and political establishment, as those actions are widely believed to be executed by the Chinese as part of their quest to topple the USA as the dominant superpower of the world. They include what the FBI calls predatory lending and business practices, systematic theft of intellectual property, and brazen cyber intrusions. Amidst the aforementioned actions, China is intensifying its military buildup, which includes putting new aircraft carriers and fifth-generation fighter planes into service, as well as running airstrips in the South China Sea to counter U.S. megabases like Guam and strengthening its military ties with Australia and Taiwan. However, the U.S. officials believe that there are other, far more nuanced facets to China's power struggle. Beijing is also engaging in a more subdued strategy, advancing its drive for domination and influence throughout the Indo-Pacific region and beyond by non-military means. One of the tools being used to increase the influence is through infrastructure projects in many countries of the world. Major seaport development and railway infrastructure have previously been funded by Beijing at Gwadar in Pakistan, Lamu in Kenya, and Riam Naval Base in Cambodia. A recent agreement with the Solomon Islands appears to grant the Chinese Navy access to ports there that it has already obtained elsewhere. Western officials allege that the Chinese Navy might receive basing rights at the ports in exchange for their assistance. Each nation disputes these accusations, claiming they are purely business deals between Chinese corporations and local governments. Additionally, Chinese influence in the daily lives of the worldwide consumers through social media platforms has been gaining momentum too. Under several administrations, American political and security leaders have expressed concerns about social media corporations, particularly TikTok. They are concerned about the potential for TikTok's parent firm, ByteDance, based in China, to gather personal data, as well as the platform's capacity for information censorship and manipulation. Recently, some U.S. senators jointly wrote a letter to the Federal Trade Commission requesting an inquiry into TikTok and the possibility that the Chinese government may use it to create a disinformation campaign or block content that it didn't like in the United States. US officials are also concerned that China attempts to combine government-run and commercial technology enterprises in a way that permits Beijing to both compete globally and support China's local tech industry, while also gaining access to global user data. Recently, the Pentagon acknowledged this issue by adding more Chinese firms with connections to the Chinese government to a blacklist that would prevent Americans from investing in them. Among these companies are Zhejiang Dahua Technology, a manufacturer of surveillance technology, and DJI Technology, the largest drone manufacturer in the world. DJI has long been a top drone supplier to American law enforcement, including the FBI and Department of Homeland Security. American officials are concerned that the Chinese government may alter law enforcement's equipment or map vital infrastructure using the information and images collected by these drones. Another big part of China's civil-military fusion project is its semiconductor industry. Beijing has funneled money into the industry to keep newer, smaller companies afloat while they build up resources and a customer base. Given the extreme importance of semiconductors and the shortage of product inputs, this action has also raised eyebrows in the US. So in summary, if all the factors, including military buildup, allocation of budget and technology to the military, expansion of influence in countries away from mainland China through infrastructure projects, and operation of hybrid entities are considered, the US believes that they have reasonable basis to be suspicious of China's ambitions. From China's perspective, it's a country of over 1.4 billion people, and it feels that it has every right to develop and expand based on its legitimate interests to service its people and engage with countries all over the world on the basis of equality. It's obvious that this situation is continuously evolving, and we will be sure to come back and assess the developments regarding China at a later stage. Till then, goodbye, and thank you for joining.